Do we always have a causal relationship between the predictors and the response variable, which in survival analysis is the time until an event occurs? The short answer is no, and here's why. But before we dive into the explanation, let's take a quick step back and look at the concept of experimental design. Are you ready? Let's go. There are two ways of collecting your data depending on the purpose of your study. You may decide to conduct an experiment or to go for an observational study. So let's break down each of them. An observational study observe individuals and measure characteristics of interest such as your age, your height, your weight, your BMI, your blood pressure, your cholesterol level, your smoking status, and so on. However, it does not attempt to influence the response variable, which in this case is your survival time. So an observational study follows the principle of observe but don't disturb. The purpose of this type of study is to describe a group or a situation. We may conclude that non-smokers tend to live longer than those smoking. So this is just an association or a correlation between your smoking status and your survival time. When our goal is to study cause and effect relationship, experiments are our preferred source for fully convincing data. What does it mean? Let's say, for instance, that we would like to conduct a study where the goal is to determine whether smoking causes a reduce in your life expectancy. That is, whether or not smoking causes people to die sooner. Okay? So we'll begin the study by gathering subjects to take part in the study. Okay? And at the beginning of the study, we make sure that all the individuals or all the subjects are as similar as possible. Maybe in terms of income, in terms of healthcare access, and so on. So this phase of the study is called control. Then we randomly assign the treatment to two different groups. Okay? So one group will be asked to start smoking, and the second group will stay smoker free. The non-smokers group is referred to as the baseline group because they are not smoking. And the group where people are assigned the behavior of smoking is called the treatment group. It's worth noting that this type of experiment may not always be feasible because not all the subjects in the group assigned the behavior of smoking may want to smoke. If I don't want to smoke, you cannot force me to do so. So we can see that this is not always feasible for ethical reasons. But let's say in this case, all the subjects in the group or in the treatment group are willing to start smoking, to adopt this behavior for the purpose of the study. Okay? So at this stage, two additional principles of the experimental design are satisfied. Randomization, because we randomly assign the treatment to the different groups, okay? And replication, which is we have several individuals in each group taking the treatment or not taking the treatment, okay? So because of the way the experiment was designed, this study was conducted, we can tell whether or not smoking causes a difference in survival time because other factors which may have affected the outcome were controlled during the study. All right. Now that you know the difference between an observational study and an experimental design, we can go back to our initial question. Do we always have a causal relationship between the predictors and the response variable, which is the survival time? No, especially not in observational studies. It turns out that most survival model depends on observational data, which means that what we usually see is association, not confirmed causes. Remember, when dealing with observational data, correlation does not imply causation. So if you learn something from this video, make sure to like, to subscribe so that you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. And I will see you next week. Thank you.